That's a very military mindset.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, obviously, our first responders do the same thing. They compartmentalize that stuff because that's the only way they can go home.
Absolutely.
But I'd love to hear an example of something like that you witnessed, that you're able to compartmentalize for personal emotional reasons.
Right.
But then you turned it into, here's how others can benefit from what happened in front of me.
So Iraq and Afghanistan are two completely different environments. So early Iraq, and then like 9 months later, Iraq was a different Iraq. And then each time that I would deploy, it was a very different place. So one time we were embedded with the unit and we went into an area, and it was an area where they were using drills and knives and saws and beheading people and doing it on video. So when I got into the environment, they had it set up in a very specific way with flags and banners and a wheelchair and a floor drain. And it was not unlike being in a butcher shop downtown Detroit, where they're first bringing the animals off the truck, then they shoot them in the head, and they start hanging them and doing the blood. It was a vicious, horrific environment, and the people were fleeing as we were coming into the environment. And I remember at the moment that was happening, that I was the only one in the group that understood what this room was. And so I tried to educate everybody in the room. And it was hard, and it's hard now to think back about that room, but it's become a profound lesson for anybody that comes through that, listen, just because there's a floor drain, just because there's hooks up here, you're not in a butcher shop anymore. This is a different environment, and you got to laser focus right now or we're all going to die. Those type of things happen to me more than, it's like being a poop magnet. If there's something that's going to happen, it's going to happen right in front of me, and then I'm going to be able to take that and train others. But reconciling what I saw that day and the smells and the feels, I still have that now. It just hit me a minute ago. So very hard, but I thank God for the opportunity to witness that, so I can go tell somebody else what that felt like and what that looked like. So their first experience isn't so shocking that they fail. And that you can become overwhelmed by events and overcome by emotions, and now you're not being your best self. There's time for that, but now is not the time for that. And so we've dedicated, Brian Marin and I, my wife Shelley, our small team, we've dedicated ourselves to make sure that we're always honest, we're always truthful, and we're always real about what we saw, absolutely transparent about those events, because I think that's what teachers do. That's what the best science teachers do, and the math teachers, is they expose you to these wonderful things, and all of a sudden you have this epiphany, and now you can be a different human. So we're teachers too. It's just on a different wavelength.
So obviously what you were describing, and again, I find it fascinating that you don't even put that in your top 10, but yet that is a very emotionally charged situation for you, memory. But you walk in and it was obviously a torture chamber. That's what you're describing. And it's interesting that you were really the only one who truly picked up on what was going on in there. And I'm assuming people got kind of mesmerized by the flags and the other things that were in there, and that didn't allow them to associate everything. When they realized what it truly was, I mean, I've got two questions here. I want to hear about you, but I want to hear about everybody else. When they realized what it was, can you describe that moment
absolutely.
for them?
So and understand, they had a mission. Their mission was that we were getting shot at, and there was terrorists that were running away, and these
were military, correct?
Yes, sir. And so that military unit, their job was to clear that building, to safeguard human life, and specifically the other Marines that were there, and to catch those bad guys that were running away. And when you looked at it, you got to imagine it was like I can't even think of the name of the old store where you'd go up and you'd rent a videotape. And back, I'm old enough to, Blockbuster Video. Yeah. So the front part looked kind of like a Blockbuster Video, because there were these trays of videos and it was camera equipment. And again, it looked like a crappy stage where one would make an adult film. You know what I'm saying? And but then everything had this feel, and the blood and the violence, and there was weapons that are laying in the corner, and makeshift RPGs to defend the place. So that unit, their job was to clear. And it was, again, very kinetic. They were tip of the spear. They were pushing through. And so I had the luxury of what we call time and distance. I was able to separate myself from that, because I'm not an operator. I'm nowhere near an operator. I'm just a big bombastic guy that loves humans and loves to teach. And so when I started putting it together, the breadcrumbs for me just fell together immediately. So they cleared, they pacified, I'm taking photos, they come back into the environment. And just like many other environments with snipers and IEDs, I was like, this plus this, what are we seeing here? And when we look back at that, and then you can
So
see,
you were with them to teach them the
Absolutely.
environments that they were walking into.
the atmospherics,
Okay.
the geographics, all of those things. And the idea is when you're training somebody and you see that epiphany moment, Saul on the road to Damascus, scales fall from their eyes, and now they get it. The beauty of that is they'll never forget that experience. And you can only get that. Look, you can do a check-in-the-box training. You can do a laminated sheet. You can do some gosh darn video. But the idea is until you're in that moment, you feel it inside. And I'm not telling you got to learn about a bullet-resistant vest by me shooting you in the chest, but I'm saying that you have to have somebody to be your mentor and your guide, to hold your hand through some of these experiences, because then they become so fidelity-filled and rich that you'll learn from them. If not, you come back and you get angry and you go to the bar and you only have friends that are vets and you don't talk about those scenarios. It's important. It's cathartic to talk about those and get those out.